What's up, guys? You got your boy Prophet as well as Titan. We just got back from our locals. And Titan, what did we play today?
Well, guys, I brought Phantom Knights to my locals today. And I'll give you guys a little breakdown of what I played today. I ended up going second place today.
Yep.
Basically, my matchups were, I played Virtual World in the final round. He ended up taking it in match 3. I played a Harpy deck. I also played Tri-Brigade Zodiac, and I also played, what was the other matchup? I also played Fluunderies, actually. There was a bird player there, so those are my 4 matchups. Like I said, V-Dub was the only one that took me down. It was super close, but he ended up taking it, so.
Tough.
Yeah.
All right, well, show us the spice. What do we got going on?
All right, let's get started here. So, of course, pretty standard. 3 copies of, the best Phantom Knights in the deck. Definitely the Torrent Scales. If you don't know what he does, basically, as cost, I can discard a card from the hand, and then I can also dump a card from the deck to the graveyard. He does also have a neat little effect where if he's in the graveyard and you go ahead and banish like any of your Phantom Knights cards, you can trigger it to special summon it from the graveyard. It does banish once it leaves the field, but you usually get around that just by overlaying it, just so, because obviously when materials leave the field, it doesn't really count as being on the field, so it just goes into the graveyard. But definitely play 3 of. You gotta play 3. Can't play any less than that.
Nice.
Then, of course, the best ones to complement the Torn Scales is, of course, the Silent Boots. This one, obviously, is great because you can just special it. If you control any Phantom Knights monster, you just freely special it. And then if you don't know what else he does, is if he's in the graveyard, you can go ahead and banish him, and you can go ahead and grab any Phantom Knight spell or trap. So you can grab your Fog Blades, and then we're only playing 2 copies of the Cloak.
Only 2 Cloak, eh?
Yes, only 2 Cloak. I had to find room for some of the other things that I was playing, just more extenders, because this one doesn't have a special summoning, it doesn't have a way to special summon itself. So you pretty much just have to normal it, or just discard it.
I see.
There's lots of ways to there are ways to discard it in this deck, so it's not the biggest deal. But it is, obviously, you definitely need it. Basically searches you any of your Phantom Knights cards, doesn't matter what it is, spell or trap, monster. But it's fantastic. You normally are grabbing, obviously, if you just need, you can get rid of it. You can normally get rid of it, link it off into an All Mirage, and then you can go ahead and just banish it and just grab something else.
I see.
If the hand, is that bad. Typically, it's normally not that bad, but just something that you can do.
Did you ever play 3? Do you ever miss the 3rd one?
I don't ever really I wouldn't say I miss it, because like I said, there it's not a card that you can just freely special. So sometimes, I've tested with 3. I feel like 2 is probably fine. I don't think you need to go 3. But I've debated it just to have more Phantom Knight names just in case. But it's never really come up. It's actually been totally fine just at the 2. So I haven't really worried about it, honestly.
Nice.
And like I said, I was just finding more room just to find more extenders. So
gotcha.
He was the easy one to cut, just because boots you can freely special, so that's fine. And then for just some one of Phantom Knights, we have the 1 Stained Greaves, and then we have the gloves. So this is actually another reason why I'm okay with just playing 2 Stained Greaves. When he's in the graveyard, I can banish him just a special. So what normally I like to do is I'll search him off of Isolde. Obviously, of course, I've already used his effect once, and then I'll usually grab him off of Isolde, and if I have Stained Greaves, then I can just banish the Stained Greaves to be able to special the other Cloak if I absolutely need it, just for extension. So that's basically why that's in there. And he also can special himself too if you special summon any other Phantom Knights. So if you use the Brigadine, or like I said, any of the other knights Torn Scales, Boots, you can special the Stained Greaves. And then gloves. Gloves is fantastic. This one kind of the ratios changed on this one quite a bit throughout the months. Just because before, I would say you're going to be playing 2 to 3. That's just because it can dump literally any. It can turn itself into any Phantom Knights card when it's in the graveyard. You can banish it, dump any Phantom Knights card. So it can dump your Wings, your blade, the Fog Blade, any of the other any of the monsters. But I just found that it's not great. It's not great to like open this card. You always typically just like want to send it off of like Bardiche, or you can send it off of Torn Scales. So it's actually just better just to play the one. It's a little bit clunky and bricky if you play more than one. So that is it for all of the PK monsters that I play.
Gotcha.
So now going off into the BA stuff.
Oh, BA.
We had a very small package of BAs. We have only 3.
And you like the Farfa?
Honestly, it's a card I've debated on cutting just because, again, just for space.
Gotcha.
You know, maybe for third cloak or just like for more extenders. It did come up a few times today, but
you think it's something you'd play at like higher up, like at a regional or something with this card, or?
That's a tough one. Like I'd have to do some more play testing. Like I said, it worked out fine today, but I have debated on just like cutting it. It's literally only there just because like sometimes my hands just aren't very, like they're not always the greatest, and I always end up opening one of these guys. So sometimes I just like having that third one for just in case. But I have definitely debated on cutting it. Honestly, I feel like there's probably some like higher impact things that you could play. Maybe just like an extra extender or something.
I get that. Awesome.
Yeah. So those are the 3 BAs.
Now, did you ever consider playing like a 2-graph or 2-seer? Or you like
that was definitely. If you guys are familiar with our other Fan Knights profile that we had, that of course Jax did for us, and I think I also went through a little bit of mine from last year. It is definitely something I've thought about where I could play multiples of these, but again, I just felt like there were other extenders that I would have rather played.
Yep.
So that's really one of the only reasons why I ended up cutting these. Because my original build it was like a 2, 2, and like maybe 1. This one was more optional.
Yeah.
But you definitely played like 2-graph, 2-seer, so in case you did like happen to open it, it wasn't completely shutting off that play. But you didn't really use... there's a card in the extra deck that you use a little bit more now, like just throughout your combo. That you didn't really use before.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why, like, you know, you just cut these down to, to 1 each.
Gotcha.
And I'll go over that here in a second when I get to them, just so that I can kind of explain, I guess, where those would have been to, like, where the second graph would have gone or where a second seer would be.
Yeah.
So I'll show you that.
Awesome.
And then just for some more extenders, I have the Psychic Tracer and the Psychic Wielder. These are fantastic. If you don't know what these guys do, basically, if you control a level 3, you can go ahead and just freely special it.
I see.
So, super simple. Everything here in this deck is level 3. So if it's on the field, boom, you just special it. Works great for you to be able to go into your Levier plays, Break Sword if you need it. So not too much more, I guess, really to explain on that. They're just extenders. The fact that this is a tuner doesn't matter. It's not like you're sinking anything, but
I see.
It's just extenders. And then more extenders, we have, of course, the Danger package.
Yeah.
The 2 best ones, the ones that are limited, we can only play 1 of each. I wish I could play more of Tsuchinoko and Jack. I think this would be something I would like do 2 and 2 of if I could. But yeah, these are fantastic. Basically, you just reveal them, and you can go ahead and your opponent just randomly discards one of them, which is fantastic. You have tons of cards that you're totally okay with, discarding. They all do things in the graveyard. Torn Scales, boots, gloves, cloak. Everything, even your fog blades, you don't even mind getting in the grave because, like I said, you just use them to extend.
Awesome.
So gotta play these.
Yep.
And then this is where basically the second graph and the second seer went. I played this package. I played the 1 Infernoble Knight Renaud, and I did play the equipped spell that went along with it.
The equipped spell?
Yes. So basically, I play Isolde now in the deck. That was one of the big things that changed. I have Living Fossil here. So basically, there's a play basically where you just you go into the Isolde, and then you would just dump the Living Fossil to special the Renaud, and then the Renaud can just grab you back the Living Fossil.
Awesome.
So it's basically just more extension. If you don't want to play these, then you can play the second graph and the second seer if you want, if you're more into the BA stuff. But I felt like this was actually pretty good. It does suck if you do open one of them. Honestly, I have debated on maybe playing a second equip spell just in case I open one. But to be honest with you, I've opened the Renaud more often than I've opened the equip spell.
Really?
So this has actually been fine. This has actually been bricking me a few times. But It's fine. You don't have to go into Izol to like do everything. And then going off into some hand traps. So of course we play 3 Ash Blossom. Definitely the most, I would say probably like the best hand trap. Just overall hits everything. It could be a little bit like it's not as impactful I think than it used to be, obviously, just because like decks are extending so much nowadays.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, sometimes there are still those crucial points that you definitely you want to ash. Fusion Destinies, you definitely want to ash those. I don't know. There's definitely decks that like get hurt by the ash for sure. Especially like lower tier decks definitely get hurt a lot by ash. That's why it's still really good to play. Because yeah, sure, it might not be as impactful against like higher level decks, but against like some of the lower tier ones, like or even the mid tier ones, ash is still fantastic.
Gotcha.
So, all right, and then a card that is coming back into favor, and that is because E-Telly is at 3. So we are playing Ghosty Boy, Ghost Ogre, and Snow Rabbit. First thing I will immediately say, I kind of wish I played 3 today.
Yeah?
I honestly didn't see them enough.
I see.
And to be honest with you, this probably would have saved me in a couple situations, just in terms of like, you know, you remove the resource off of the field, right? It's kind of funny that this card kind of came back into favor because I feel like getting rid of the actual body to like, you know, the people need to go into their, you know, their busted boss monsters has always been a thing, but for just some reason now, just because E-Telly's at 3, it's kind of opened the floodgates for Ogre again.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so that's one thing I would definitely have changed. I definitely would play the 3rd Ogre for sure, but it is fantastic. Against the Floowandereeze player, this is fantastic because you can special this. If they go ahead and like try to activate their map on your like normal summon, you can just use this to pop it. So,
oh yeah, you just E-Telly it out?
Yeah, you just E-Telly it out. So yeah, really, really good little piece of interruption there. But yeah, I definitely would like to play 3 just because of how good this hand trap's actually got in this format.
Yeah.
So, all right, and then a card that I'm probably going to end up cutting out. I did play some Veilers.
Oh yeah?
This was a little bit questionable. Sometimes it feels weird not playing Imperm in pretty much any high-level deck that I've ever had.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't really play Imperm in this deck because it conflicts with Brigadine. If you have those traps in the grave, you can't special the Brigadine anymore. Now, this does change if you play the the Adventurer token stuff, which is what I am planning on moving into here in the future. Definitely stay tuned for that deck profile, guys, by the way. I will definitely be throwing that out. But yeah, this is something I would definitely change for sure. Honestly, this never came up the whole day. I didn't see a single Veiler the whole day. I just think that I could probably do without it. Honestly, I don't think there would have been any times where I was like, man, if I had the Veiler, it would have won me the game.
Yeah.
So I don't win die rolls all the time, so I just wanted to make sure that I had some form of interruption because a lot of my interrupts, you know, minus I guess like the Ash and the Ogre, are usually on like my turn when it comes back to me. So I just wanted something to kind of do like on the opponent's turn, a little more interactability, but I never saw it. So honestly, this will probably end up getting cut for sure, especially when I get the Brave stuff.
Gotcha.
And then some cards that, again, are a little bit questionable. You don't have to main these, but I don't always win the die roll. And Virtual World is like just a mainstay at my locals, and this is just one of the best ways to deal with that deck and pretty much any other deck. Sword Soul is another deck that I frequently see at my locals as well, and they like Nib is just one of the best ways to kind of deal with them. Yeah, they can make the Barone to kind of stop you from nibbing them, but it still forces them to use the Baron negate. So now they don't have that negate anymore. So I don't know. I felt like this was actually pretty good. It didn't really come up today, but I've definitely had, like, as I've been playing this deck, this card has definitely come up quite a bit, and this has saved me in some matches. So I wouldn't cut this. I don't think I would like put the third one in, but I think the ratio of 2 I think is worked out fine for me. I'll probably keep it this way moving forward. And then we play. This is the package that I went for my deck.
No DPE, eh?
No, so I will be moving forward onto the DPE once the Adventurer stuff is here. Once I get that, because that just makes more sense. Obviously, you're locking the opponent out with Scythe. Just a much better play. But for right now, I just feel like there's a lot of decks that just have a hard time dealing with Dragoon. So I just opted to go with that, just because the one thing that this deck really struggles with is Omni Negate, which is what the Adventurer stuff kind of gives the deck, is obviously an Omni Negate, right? You use that Griffin Rider, but because the way this deck was, like, I did have it with DPE, but it didn't put up any sort of like Omni Negate, so any spell or trap that my opponent had, I was at the mercy of. Because I can negate them to oblivion when it comes to any of their monster effects, with Apollosa, with the Utopic Draco Future, which you'll see here in a little bit. So I had monster negates, out the ass really, but could not deal with any spells and traps, so I needed a way to deal with it, so that's why I decided to go with Dragoon for right now. But yeah, once the Brave stuff comes in, I'm definitely going to be switching over to DPE for sure, because then I have the Omni Negate.
Gotcha.
Yep. So there's that. And then, of course, with it, the Red Eyes Fusion.
Yep.
So get that out of the way. All right, and then going off into my main spells here. So we did play, of course, the card that came back to 3, the 3 E-Telly. This card is absolutely phenomenal, honestly. Like, this card is everywhere, and I can see why. Like, it just literally freely specials you. Just any, level 3 or below Psychic. So you just, you can summon out the Ogre. That's the most, like, I would say popular target right now for it. But just freely specialing a card, like, is just so good. And it's not once per turn. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
You open multiple of these, it never feels bad. You open 2, perfect. You can literally start your combo just using these. You haven't normal summoned at all. Right? So
wow.
This is just, it's too good not to play. I can definitely see why everybody's kind of on this package. It's super, super good. Definitely would not play any less than 3. If it's not once per turn, there's no reason to never not play 3.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then Droplet is going to be my other form of interruption that I had today. So this is kind of what I was talking about when I said like some of my interrupts are just like when they go back to my turn.
Yep.
So this is good, but there are times where, sometimes you don't want your opponent, having that setup. And that's kind of why the Veiler was there. But like I said, never came up. Droplet was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. And then I played the 1 copy of the Rhoda. That's pretty self-explanatory. All the PK stuff is all warriors. So definitely want to be grabbing that stuff. Foolish Burial, this one also, pretty self-explanatory. It's a graveyard deck. You want to be getting anything and everything pretty much into the graveyard. So yeah, definitely went with the Foolish Burial. You don't have to play this because there is so many ways to dump cards and to get them into the graveyard, but it's just more gas.
Gotcha.
That's basically what this is. Call by the Grave makes sense. Obviously, there are times where you could get ashed on the Torn Scales or get ashed on the Bardiche. So gotta have the 1 God card. Wish this was at more than 1, but it didn't come up today. But of course, I'm never gonna stop playing Call by the Grave. It's just too good. All right, and then moving off into the final cards that I have, we go with the trap cards. So of course the 3 Fogblade. That's pretty standard. I would never play anything less than 3. And then with the 3 Fogblades, we also have the Brigadine and the Wing.
Brigadine and Wing.
Yes.
You're not playing the sword?
No, actually, I couldn't find space for it. I found that these ones were just the best ones to play. Yeah, I just didn't need it.
Just prefer these?
Yeah,
awesome.
So I just preferred these. Brigadine is fantastic because it's just a free special. And then the Wings, like I mentioned earlier, just another way to banish a card and revive something. So
gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, didn't need the other one at all. So
you're happy with the ratio until you get the Brave stuff?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, like I said, I think with the Brave stuff, I'd probably cut out of all of these cards. I'd probably cut the Brigadine.
Yep.
Now, if I do cut the Brigadine, that does leave me the possibility to play around with some Imperms. I would be more okay with playing Imperm, obviously. But it just depends. I do really like it because honestly, with my combo, probably the easiest way that I make Isolde is I typically use the final like PK monster that I summon off of the Levier after I went into the second Levier. I'll bring back one of the PKs and then I'll typically set this off of the Bardiche. I won't usually set the Fogblade.
Yep.
Just because there's so many ways that I can search the Fogblade in the combo. I can either add it I usually grab it off of Boots, but you can also add it off of Cloak, just depending on like the way the hand was.
Yep.
So I just always end up setting this instead, just because this is an extender, right? So basically I set this, and then I special it, and because it's still a warrior, and the other guy that obviously I specialed off of the Levier is a warrior as well, then I just use these two to go into the Isolde. So
Gotcha.
it's a real easy way to go into Isolde. So that's why I really like it. And I can also turn this into, like, if you play Link Spider, you can turn this into Link Spider just to help you go into Verte. If you're like, if your hand is that bad and you just need to go into like Dragoon, then yeah, this is a great way to do it too.
Sound good?
So yeah, so I was happy with all my ratios on the traps for sure.
Awesome.
So that is the main deck. I'll go over the extra deck. So the main links that I want to always be going into is typically going to be these three.
Oh yeah.
So we have Cherubini. So if you don't know what Cherub does, this card is insane. Cherub is nuts. Basically, as soon as this thing is on the field happening, you are going to get the benefit from it because the cost is, the effect to like send a card to the graveyard is cost. So if they go ahead and like you declare it and then they like imperm you or ash you or whatever, it doesn't matter. You still get to send the card as cost, and that's the main thing that you want because you're typically going to be sending Graph just to be able to get the special off of Graph. And then of course the Isolde, like I was explaining, Isolde lets you grab a warrior monster upon summon, which is great if you need discard fodder. Especially like when you're ending your combo with Dragoon. Sometimes you'll use your entire hand, you won't have an extra card to discard. This one kind of allows it to happen a little bit easier. And then of course the Verte for the Dragoon. And then we're also playing All Mirage. This is a new edition. I think this is actually pretty good, just because there are going to be hands where you don't see anything. So you'll just, special or like normal, or I guess you have to normal. So normal, the PK monster, just link it off into the All Mirage, and then you'll use the PK monster that you just used as like, you just banish it. Just grab something else. Grab like a Fog Blade if you need to just like stall, or you can grab a monster if you have a way to like keep extending. So I thought this was actually pretty good. Link Spider, this I think is also actually really good. I think this is necessary if you're playing with Verte, quite honestly. Or I guess also if you're playing with the Brigadine, just because Verte, at the very, like, if you're needing to go into something like that, it needs effect monsters, so you need to be able to turn that Brigadine into an effect monster, and that is the only way to do it. So you just go with the Link Spider. And then, of course, so a couple of Link 3s that I have here is, this is the main one, the Rusty Bardiche. Basically, he's like the bread and butter of the deck. You basically go into him, and you dump any Phantom Knights monster, and then you can directly set. That's basically how you would set the Brigadine or like the Fog Blade. But yeah, basically just getting that Phantom Knights into the graveyard is fantastic. We got the Unicorn. This is basically in here so that when I go into the big boy here, the access code, I can actually, gain the 3,000. And Unicorn, it's a fantastic card still. And then we play the Appaloosa. That is the last link that I'm playing. Makes sense. There's a lot of ways to, make this. You usually make this with 2 to 3 materials. You usually don't ever get all 4, but that's usually more than enough.
Yeah, 3 monster negates is enough.
Yeah, usually. And then there's the Dragoon, of course, for the ref. And then for my XYZs. Now this is something that is a little bit questionable, just because I don't really see a whole lot of lists doing this, but the Break Sword was at 1.
Oh.
I decided to only play the 1 just because I was trying to find space. I had to find, because I do play the Utopic Draco Future package, so that kind of takes up a little bit of space, and I also had to find room for things like the All Mirage and the Link Spider. I felt like that they were actually a little bit more important when I'm trying to actually make my combo.
Yeah.
Now, this I think only makes sense if I'm playing the deck the way that I currently am. Just because before, the way the deck used to go is you would use the Break Sword as a means to get into your the Requiem.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, because then you would pop it using Bardiche's effect. You would trigger the Break Sword's effect to special out your 2 PK monsters that were like overlaid with as level 4s, and then you would turn it into the, I think what was that one? The Dark Rebellion.
Yeah.
And then you go into Requiem, right? Using the rank up spell. So you would play the rank up spell as well. But because I don't do that on my first turn, I don't feel like it's necessary to have to play the second one. Because yes, this card is fantastic for when you're going like playing into a board. But because I'm not doing that, I felt like, you know, this was the one thing that I felt like I could cut to 1.
Gotcha.
Honestly, I never felt like I was like, oh man, I need more break swords.
You didn't think that today?
No, it never came up today. So I'm okay with this decision. This might go back up to 2 once I have like the Brave, the Adventurer stuff. Just because I don't know if I'm going to still be playing the Utopic Draco, the F-Zero package or whatever. So but for right now, I think the 1 is fine. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, I am playing the Utopic Draco Future package. So we are going to be playing the 2 Leviers. The 2 Leviers you can abuse just because they're not once per turn. You just freely special your PK stuff from the Banished. Then, of course, once you're done doing all that, you just overlay it into the F-Zero. And then, of course, the F-Zero turns into the F-Zero Utopic Draco Future. So just another monster negate, and you can steal a monster, which is kind of nice. It came up, I think, once today. It was pretty good. I would debate on possibly cutting it for other stuff. I think I am going to be cutting it once the Adventurer stuff comes in. So
yeah. So you're not even playing Zeus?
No, actually, that's like I said, that's the one thing I kind of was like debating like back and forth on with this deck was like, did I want to play with Downer Zeus? Or do I want to go with like the F-Zero package? I just went with the F-Zero package. Zeus is awesome. I probably am going to be playing Zeus once the Adventurer stuff comes in. Like I said, I really just wanted to focus on just like putting up a bunch of negates in this deck because I'm not playing Scythe. So I just felt like having the extra negate was a little bit better. So
awesome.
All right, and then going off into the side deck. So I was playing 3 Sanctum.
Nice.
So yeah, this
Scythe.
Yeah, just because I still wanted to play Scythe to some capacity. It's just too good not to. Is the biggest miss on the ban list, honestly. So yeah, definitely wanted to still play the Scythe. Then of course here is the Scythe, and then just to kind of complement the Scythe is the Lancia. This is obviously for decks that love banishing things, which is including Mirror Match, Floowandereeze. One thing I would change is I would probably play the 3rd Lancia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely find space for the 3rd one. It came up today and it definitely won me some games. So definitely would be doing that moving forward. And then of course the 1 red reboot. There's still a lot of busted traps in the game, man, especially with Floowandereeze and some of their busted traps, things like Featherstorm, things like the Dream Town. Imperm if you really want to stop an Imperm, I guess. So I still think this card is actually really, really good. And of course, Skill Drain, Skill Drain now being at 3, you got to have ways to like stop that Skill Drain from happening. So I definitely played the 1 red reboot, hoping this actually comes back to more than 1.
Yep.
Especially, like I said, with Skill Drain being at 3 now. 2 evenly. 2. This one, I'd probably cut this, honestly. I think I'm probably going to end up playing, like I said, there's one of them is probably going to be the 3rd Lancia. This other one, I'm not quite sure what it's going to be yet, but it's definitely going to be coming out. I didn't come up at all. So, no, not once today. And then I was testing this because this was also the first time I was able to kind of test this. Is 3 Raigeki. So yeah, Raigeki is at 3 now. This, again, it didn't really come up today. But I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with this moving forward. I think this could be good. Just the fact that this card is not a once per turn, just a complete monster board wipe is fantastic. I think this is a great alternative. Like obviously, this is a great alternative for anybody who can't afford Lightning Storm. So if you don't want to play Lightning Storm, you can just play the Raigekis. Like I said, I don't know if I'll be playing these moving forward, but
gotcha.
Definitely some spice, and then of course the 3 Cosmic Cyclone were the last cards in the side. I picked Cyclone over Twin Twister just because Scythe is a card.
Scythe's a card.
And the only way for you to not trigger Scythe is to use Cyclone instead. Because Twin Twister destroys it, whereas this does not. So that's literally the only reason why I went with the Cyclones. Because I sometimes do miss Twin, just because Twin discards a card, so you can discard your like Phantom Knights for just extra fuel. And it also, pops an extra card as well, so you're dealing with more than just the 1 card. But just because of Scythe, honestly, just the Scythe just puts so much fear into people that you have to find ways to play around it, and this is just one of them. So that's why I went with Cyclone.
Awesome. And anything else that you kind of felt about it, or
it's like it performed pretty well today. Like I said, I kind of wish there were times where I wish I had a little bit more extension, and there definitely were times where I really wish I had the Scythe lock using DP and whatnot. But I just feel like it's a little too fragile without having the Omni Negate. So that's why I just chose not to do that today, and I'm still waiting on getting the Enchantresses as well. But overall, I really like this deck. It's a super fun deck. I'll definitely be playing more PKs moving forward. This is one of the best decks in the format. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with the deck today.
Awesome, guys. Well, make sure to like us on Facebook as well as on YouTube. And until next time, guys, deuces.